Hello everyone, welcome back to the Away Say on the Gallagher Shots YouTube channel. We've got a cup special for you because probably the strangest thing to happen in 2020, Newcastle breezed through a cup match, which is crazy. And we're actually into the round of 16 in the AFL Cup, and we're against similar level opposition this time around, but I do think it's going to be a very different affair to what we faced against Morecambe. Joined by a special guest this time out, we're joined by Edward Colley. He is a Newport County fan and trust member. Edward, thanks for coming on.
No problem, glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Maybe the only time we ever speak, so it's good to sort of get this conversation in because I always love playing against new teams, but I think Newport are one of these clubs where everyone knows who they are. We're always hear about you, see you in the league tables here, Jeff Stelling reading the result out, but I don't think anyone knows a lot about your club. So just for the sort of Newport County novices out there, can you just give us a bit of a background as to your club, how you are
Yeah.
at the minute?
Okay, let's find it out. At the moment, we are in Football League League Two. We were promoted back into the Football League in 2013, having been out of the league for 25 years, with the original club having gone out of the league in 1988 and then into liquidation in 1989. So the club was reformed then in 1989, and we spent 25 years working to get back into the league, which we achieved in 2013. So
Nice.
that
Wow.
was good to be back. Non-league there was some great trips, some good times, but the objective always had been to get back in the Football League. So obviously that was that was great to achieve that. And since then, it's been good. There's been some ups and there's been some downs. So the great escape of a few years ago, where we stayed up on the last day, beating Notts County at home, and 88th minute goal, Mark O'Brien. That was very memorable, and that actually sent Jeff Stelling's Hartlepool down that day. Wonderful. And unfortunately, they are still down there. So
yeah. I was going to say, so is this sort of the highest Newport have reached in their recent history? Then, I see you third or fourth in the league at the moment. Obviously, early doors, but.
So recent history, yeah, we got to the playoff final season before last. We lost Tranmere in that, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the heyday of the club, in the late 70s, early 80s, when we had John Aldridge and Tommy Tyler up front, which is slightly before my time. But my dad was at most of those games. But yeah, we were up in the third division as was. Yeah, I think there were ambitions to get up in the second, but it never happened, and it all went downhill from there.
Well, yeah, I've seen that your early form this season seems that you've started quite well. Would you agree?
Yeah, we have. So we're in third on 7 points. Two wins and a draw. First game was a draw away at Scunthorpe, which obviously I'm going to say we should have won. Since then we've beaten Barrow at home, and last week we won at Bolton. So yeah, it's been good. Obviously, it's been strange not being able to go, because Bolton would definitely be one of the games me and my dad would have gone to, because we've enjoyed going to getting back in the league instead of going to places like Weston-super-Mare and Cirencester. You then say, well, we'll go to Coventry. We'll go to Swindon Town. We'll go to Bolton. So yeah, it's been strange not be able to do that, but the football that's been played has been really quite good. It's been a lot of the sort of football that we all want to see. Lots of passing and movements, and taking probably not taking as many chances as we'd like, but doing not too bad at all, really.
Yeah, I think there's still a perception amongst in the sort of Premier League bubble that anything below the Premier League is just long ball football. But I think we're seeing in the lower leagues now, a lot of the teams are changing the style, and I think most teams now in those leagues do try and play the possession football. Are you sort of a stylish team, or would you? Or when we get to, because what we've played lower teams in the cups in the past, and they've got a 48-year-old fisherman up front who manages to score a goal. And Newport, that sort of team, or have they got properly good footballers?
We're fully professional, so there's none of the days of the postman and the electrician up front, things like that. So I mean, over the years, we've always been able to play really good football, but they had the tendency sometimes to just revert to knocking the ball forward. And that seemed to happen a fair bit last season. You'd have 20 minutes of great play, and suddenly just revert to hoofing it forward and nothing much happening. But so far this season, it's been playing good football, passing and moving, and it's been really great. Now whether that will apply against a Premier League team, it applied against Swansea and Watford. Obviously Watford were Premier League last year, so I guess it depends the sort of team that you put out. I mean, if we're trying to get by on 10-15% possession, who knows what will happen? But we've done all right actually against Premier League teams in the Cup since 2013. I was actually thinking about this, and I realised Newcastle, of the current 20 Premier League teams, Newcastle will be the 8th that we've played in the Cups since we got back in the league. 2 of them were Championship teams at the time, Leeds and Brighton, but obviously Premier League now. And we beat Leicester, drew with Spurs, beat Brighton. We were 2-1 down against Man City with a few minutes to go in the FA Cup. So
so obviously no mugs then is the sort of the underlying point from that, which it's easy to write off lower teams, but any Newcastle fan will tell you that whether we're playing Man City or going, like you said, Western-super-Mare, we always perform the same, which is pretty awful. I think Morecambe was a bit of a blip in the radar, and they're in your division, and from what I gather, they're only technically, according to the league, 1 point worse than you. But from your experience watching that league, and you may have had more experience with Morecambe than us, I presume you guys are a much better side than they were.
Well, I think over the years, Morecambe have actually tended to be a bit of a bogey side of ours. That we generally put that down to one man called Kevin Ellison, who always seemed to pop up against us and score. But we took the measure of signing him this summer. So I would not consider Morecambe to be our bogey team, but we solved that problem. But we don't know much about Morecambe this year because they'd always been down the bottom, say bottom third at best. Usually down there, but always struggle against them. But this season, obviously, as you say, they are, they're just below us. But not only did they lose 7-0 to you, they lost 5-0 at home to Cambridge the game before.
Right.
So, and then in the Cup second round, we dominated Cambridge and beat them 1-0. Now I know the Cup and the league, obviously you can't directly compare them. So I don't know. I would put it this way. I would hope it's not going to be 7-0.
No, I doubt we're going to repeat. Like I said, that was so bizarre for us to do that in any game. Never mind a cup game where it takes us 2 legs normally to get past teams that we should on paper beat. So I definitely don't think it's going to be a rout. I think it's going to be a close game, to be honest. Last sort of point on Newport generally. What's the sort of goal for your team this season? Is it playoffs again, or do you not want that drama this time out?
Yeah, I don't know if it's good to be honest with the playoffs. So it's weird because of the season that had just gone and was abandoned. If we'd got to the playoffs, I would have been due to be on holiday. So I thought that was actually quite a good way of doing it. Don't be able to go and just find out that we've won and be happy about it. And being upset about it. I don't know. It depends who we speak to. I would say, I guess every year the goal is got to stay in the league, but that's a bit pessimistic, and I think we're definitely aiming higher on that and better on that. Would hope to get for playoffs. I mean, obviously the way we started, we're in 3rd place now. Let's hope we finish there. But I'd certainly like to see a comfortable top half position, if not better.
Yeah, and I guess for any club, part of the goal for a season is always as good a cup run as you can do. So presumably the League Cup, it's again in the Premier League bubble, the League Cup is seen as this 2nd, 3rd tier competition that the big clubs don't care about. Newcastle fans do care about it because we care about every competition, and then we're disappointed every single time. But just put it in the context for us, the League Cup it doesn't have the same magic as the FA Cup, but still a really important competition for teams in League Two, presumably.
Again, in normal times, yes, you'd think so when you get the big games. So let's say Swansea City at home, Welsh Derby, we'd have had a full house, but obviously no one there. Watford probably would have got a great crowd. Again, no one there. Newcastle would have been a full house.
Yeah.
West Ham last year was a full house. Obviously, this being on the TV, I think it's £125,000 we'll get for this. Now that's obviously what's that in Premier League terms?
John Joe Shelby's weekly wage, I think. Yeah.
I'm on the back of Freddie Shepherd's sofa. Well, no, sorry, not Freddie Shepherd, Mike Ashley's sofa. But for us, that's especially with no crowd, that's very important. So that money in itself would be great. But And also, I mean, for both of us, it's a shot at the quarterfinals, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's crazy how the cups, the season's just started and we're already talking about quarterfinals and things. It's crazy, really. So, what was your run to get to this point? Have you performed well in the cup so far?
Yeah, so we beat Swansea at home in the first game of the season. That was a good performance. Cambridge United again at home in the second round. We dominated possession. We won 1-0. Should have scored more, but that's often been I'm sure every football fan will complain about, like the number of chances that we don't take. But that one, that was dangerously close to going to penalties, given how much we dominated. Watford, we beat them 3-1. That was relatively comfortable. So yeah, who knows? I mean, I guess it'll depend, won't it, on what sort of team Steve Bruce puts out. But as you say, Newcastle likely to take it relatively seriously, especially with a chop at the quarters. So
yeah, it's been one thing that Bruce has got pretty much unanimous credit for, is that he has tried in the cups, whereas a lot of previous managers haven't, and that's been at the expense of many of our players who've just had their ankles done in or the knees have broken things. So he does put it on the line for the cups, and he will go for it. He won't play full strength 11 by any means because it's too early in the season, I think. But you will see, our second string team this season is a lot better than it has been previously. So I think we'll still be quite strong, and we're always going to have pace. We're always going to trouble lower teams because that's just how it works, because they inherently are just more talented footballers. When you got the draw, if you had to sort of pick Premier League teams, I would have thought from your guys' point of view, Newcastle's probably one of the better teams to get. Not because we're big or anything, but just because the how good we are, basically, for lack of a better phrase. If you had to sort of pick a team, would we be in that sort of top list?
Well, I was thinking about that, and I mean, if the crowds had been around, and let's say it had been Newcastle, it would have been great to be at home. It would also have been great to be away if you managed to. I don't know if you still for a game against Newport, but obviously,
I think it would be I think it would be pretty good. It would be at least 35,000, I think. But it's the best away day in the country anyway, Newcastle. So just pop up anyway. Although we are locked down.
I have been to St James's Park, just not the one in Newcastle. I've been to the
Exeter one, right?
Yeah, I've been through Newcastle on the train, but one day, yeah. But yeah, I think I did wonder, would it be good if Morecambe had won, because then obviously it's home at Morecambe for a shot at the quarters. Yeah. But yeah, obviously we're happy to get a Premier League team. I'm obviously happy that it's on the telly, so we do get some much needed revenue.
Can you put it into context? You said that obviously it's 125,000. That it is just sort of a drop in the bucket for a Premier League team. Can you put that into context from a Newport point of view? Does that pay staff? Is that? I mean, in the current climate, it's probably invaluable to have that money coming in.
I think the figures are, in normal circumstances, our annual turnover is around £2 million.
Right.
I'm sure that's what I read that a couple of years ago, because our cup runs of the last few years in the FA Cup I think we've earned probably another £1 million 2 seasons in a row. So it makes quite a difference. So if you could earn 5% of your annual turnover off one televised game,
it's good.
Absolutely, and I'll say again, in these times we're not getting the money through because I guess Premier League clubs, you're not really relying on.
Not at all.
Revenue.
That's why it's always an absolute scandal when they tear people's eyes out for tickets, because it doesn't make the clubs any money really. But is it? I mean, obviously it's a massive shame. Coronavirus, all this, it's obvious. It's being talked about to death everywhere in the world. But when you get a game like this, it must be really disheartening as a fan not to be able to actually go and watch and cheer your lads on in this sort of game.
Well, absolutely. Just thinking back to when we got back in the league in 2013, and not only be able to go to some of the bigger teams that were in the league like Swindon, Coventry. We played Leicester, Leeds twice, Spurs twice, West Ham, West Brom, Brighton Hove Albion, Man City, and now Newcastle. And I've been to most of those. So and I would have gone to this game definitely. So it's a pity, but fingers crossed there'll be future chances to do just that. Maybe Newcastle away next year. That would be a.
What if we go down and you come up twice somehow, or in the cup again?
I hope. Yeah, I think the cup next year. That would be the key.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those grounds that you don't even it's not even sort of on your radar, but it's so sort of out there geographically. I'd love to go. So yeah, if we ever come across each other again, or if for whatever reason this game's called off and it's put back to next year, I'd love to come down. Um, Onto the sort of the game itself. We're not going to know anything about any of your players. Who do we need
Yeah.
to look out for? Who are your danger men?
Well, striker Tristan Abrahams has scored 5 goals so far this season. So he's on form. Another striker, Podrick Amond. He's not been playing so much this season, but he scored. I think he scored in the FA Cup. He'd scored in 8 rounds in a row over a couple of our runs. So he was hot in the cups until recently. So yeah, he's been our top scorer for the last few years. So he's definitely worth watching. Got a few midfield, good players in midfield. We've got Josh Sheehan will run the play. He's our playmaker. He used to play for Swansea. And then Josh Labadie's another one. Look out
Hmm.
in the middle. I think he likes to get his foot on the ball, calm things down when
Hmm.
necessary. So yeah, I think there's probably they're probably the
Hmm.
main.
Yeah, and on the flip side of it, if you're Steve Bruce, God forbid, what would be the team talk to try and hurt this Newport team? Any glaring weaknesses?
I mean, I'm certainly not going to declare anything like that publicly, am
I'm
I?
sure he's not watching.
Look, I know you'll be sending this straight to him. So um, I don't think so. I mean, in the past we've suffered from a tendency when under pressure to try and hoop it out. I'm sure many lower league teams are like that. Haven't seen that so far this season. Um, I guess I guess we'll see when it comes to perhaps Newcastle having a lot of the ball. But you know, I don't think there's any glaring weaknesses. We are a good team, and as Mike Flynn always says, we're Newport County. We fight to the end. So
Hmm. No, I do think it's going to be a good game. I mean, I knew that you guys were one of the better sort of footballing sides, but it's you say about being put under pressure. Newcastle are one of those teams where we should be a lot better than we are, and we've been saying this for years, as you'll probably know. But we've been put on pressure a couple of times this season, and we've already not been able to deal with it. I mean, the Brighton performance, we got stuffed 3-0 at home to Brighton, and that was just because they just ran at us, and we just didn't know what to do. So if your guys are buoyant and confident, and they put us under a bit of pressure, I think that's the way you could get something out of this game. Is if you just put us under the cosh. We've got a few egos in our team, and they won't like it. So there is a chance there for you. But if we keep our cool and he puts out a strong team, if Almiron plays, Joe Linton will probably play. He'll probably play some of the sort of better midfielders. Defence will be pretty solid because we don't really have much of a choice. We've kind of got to play ourselves at this point because everyone's injured. So I think it will be a good strength team. It's just about whether we keep our composure, and if we do, we should win. But obviously, you could say that about any cup game where a sort of bigger team is playing against a littler team, quote unquote. But you guys must be up for it. Must be confident.
yeah, and I think where we've had our success with beating Leicester, holding Spurs to a draw at home, and beating Leeds as well. Uh, it's coming out of the blocks fast. We scored relatively early against Spurs. We scored relatively early against Leicester.
Mm.
Against Spurs, it was hanging on a bit to keep the draw, but it was just getting that punch in first, really. So
Yeah.
you know,
Well, yeah. I mean,
it,
I'm gonna ask about a prediction. I think from what you've said there, I know more now about your club than I ever did previously to this conversation. So, I'm thinking you guys will come out the traps quick, and I think we'll have a wave to ride initially. But I think we will weather the storm, and I think we'll. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable win. I think you're going to cause us issues. But I think we'll ride it out, and I can see us winning this 2-0 for my sins. Probably be horribly wrong. But what are you thinking scoreline wise? You can be as optimistic as you like.
it's probably not massively different. I mean, I know you've got a great keeper in Carl Darlow who used to play for Newport, so there is a
Oh, did
direct.
he?
He was on loan in 2012, so yeah, it's
Right.
been a.
He may not play because he's unfortunately our first choice now because Dubravka got some sort of injury, so it'll likely be Gillespie. We don't know much about, but yeah, we are blessed in the goalkeeping position quite a lot.
I mean, I think we could probably compete well for 70 minutes. If we scored one or two, who knows? But
Mm.
you know, I would imagine we probably have give you a really good game for an hour, 70 minutes, and then potentially you'll win by 1 or 2. But I hope I'm wrong. But
well, we're being very reasonable there, aren't we? I mean, it could go the other way. Like we say, we're both expecting you guys to start quick. If we don't ride that wave out and we're 1-0 down in 20 minutes, it'll be a completely different game because we are not the most creative team in the world. We don't keep the ball very well. If we're having to score in 90 minutes, we could struggle. So it very much depends on how it starts, I think. But like you say, if we get 70 minutes in, it's still 0-0. We're going to have better, resources on the bench if it is a second string side. We can bring on Callum Wilson, potentially Ryan Fraser, Shelby, and that's the sort of thing where as a Newport fan you go, oh, for God's sake, they've got them on the bench, which is what we do in the Premier League when teams bring like Aguero off the bench and we're like, oh Jesus. But it's all relative, isn't it? So yeah, I think that's probably fair. Would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I hope we do come out on a crest of a wave and do manage to score 1 or 2. It's exactly what we did against Watford. It is what we did against Leicester and Spurs. So yeah, I mean that would be great if we could do that. So and then if not, well, maybe we're just the luck of the draw on penalties. So
Oh, I don't think I could deal with that, I'll believe. And the amount of penalties we've already seen this season, I don't think I can take any more, to be honest. I don't know if this handball law is going to apply, but I hope we don't get anything dodgy like that. Do you know if VAR is going to be in this game? Don't think it will be for your stadium.
That VAR doesn't always. I don't think it last year it didn't apply to the semis. Plus, of course, Rodney played in League Two ground. I don't know if they got the setup there.
The right setup, yeah.
It's all just there, isn't it? Set up. I mean, obviously they could do it, but I don't think they are.
I hope not. Proper old-fashioned cup tie. That's what I'm after. But right, I'm going to say as a final point, 2-0 Newcastle. What's your final prediction?
Okay, so I think I'm going to say we'll score. So I think probably Head would say you'll win 2-1. Heart will win 2-1. So
go for Heart. That's much more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, but yeah, that about does it. Thanks very much for coming on. Managed to find a Newport fan out of nowhere, so they're very very grateful for you coming on. Yeah, best of luck for the game.
Yeah, thank you, and to you.
Take care.
Cheers, thanks a lot.